This is KSL Sunday Edition with Deanie Wimmer.
Good morning and welcome to Sunday Edition, where we build up, inform, and celebrate Utah families and communities. This week, the event involving so many of our families, high school graduation. 5 years ago this week, graduation looked a lot different. We remember the COVID class of 2020. Then a special accomplishment for a young man who's overcoming family tragedy and moving forward with a new life.
I didn't think I'd make it far. I didn't think I'd amount to anything or achieve anything in my life. I really didn't.
And a life-changing turnaround in the Ogden School District. What it now means for so many graduates. High school students all over Utah are getting their diplomas and graduating from high school. It's a foundational achievement for our young people in Utah. And that's why we're focusing today on the Ogden School District. Less than a decade ago, their graduation rates were 68%. Nearly a third of their students dropped out or came up short. This year, nearly 90% are graduating. We want to show you how they made such a turnaround and what it means to young people. Graduation day in the Ogden School District. Students and their families at George Washington High know the importance of this accomplishment. As they look forward to the future, they also reflect on the past, because many didn't think they'd make it here.
They told me, you could be anything, whatever you want, put your minds to it, and show people that you could do it and prove them wrong. Because I got told many times that I wasn't able to graduate, that people looked at me and told me personally that I wasn't gonna make it, like I wasn't gonna do anything, be anything, and I proved them wrong because I had support.
In fact, a decade ago, most students at George Washington didn't graduate. Only 25% made it. Now, an astonishing 87% graduate.
The community at George Washington is powerful. It's really powerful.
Even though many graduates still face serious struggles.
I didn't care about anything at all. I didn't care about graduating. I didn't care about working. I didn't care about the future. And I think that was really rough. I was in a very depressive time in my life, and I couldn't get out of bed ever, and I lost all sense of myself, and everything I had worked so hard to do was kind of down in the dumps.
The changes that brought about those impressive numbers helped many students like KSL Stoll achieve their goals.
They got me to be myself again. They got me to enjoy living again, which is huge. Their understanding of the hardest part about being in school is oftentimes life outside of school.
It's that life outside of school that educators would have to address if Ogden District wanted more students to reach their potential.
We had an issue with graduation rates, and we had to really take a look at what the root cause of that was. So what we've done is we've really got to know each and every student and where they're at. And our teachers, our counselors, our administrators are really adept at meeting every student where they're at, throwing extra intervention around those students, and just helping support them all the way through the continuum of their school to get to graduation.
Once they got to know students, they listed them all and color-coded them, red, yellow, and green, based on their graduation status. They call it their hot list.
Based on that status of where they're at, we work really hard weekly, tracking kids, home intervention, home visits. We do whatever we can to throw extra lassos around those kids to help them get across the finish line.
Much of the turnaround came among students here at the alternative high school, George Washington High.
George Washington even took it, I think, steps further with just making sure that each and every kid's every student's needs were met where they were at. And they just have embraced that mentality of helping kids and continuing to support them and throw extra intervention around those kids. The staff immensely cares and tracks those kids. They know where those kids are at. They call every single day that those kids are not coming to school. They get them to come to school. And what I'm really proud of at George Washington is not only is the graduation rate went up, but they've also graduated far more students. And that's really important.
The key in all this, getting kids to school, or more specifically, removing the barriers that keep kids from coming to school.
attendance is very important. If we can't get the kids here, then we can't help them. So that's part of the process, is really understanding what is the issue with the student. Are they having to take care of somebody at home, or do they need a job? Like, what do they have transportation issues? Just any of those barriers. What is that barrier, and what is it that we can do to help remove that barrier for that student? So it's really getting at the individual level of every one of our students and knowing what those issues are, and they're a wide range of issues depending on where the student is at, but understanding that and then helping have a process in place to help that student overcome that barrier.
And it has worked, not only at George Washington, but throughout the district. Ogden's overall graduation has jumped from 68 to 90%.
I never thought that I would make it over here because of how long I was out of school for. But since George Washington had a really huge support system, they did help me, and they got me here.
We've always worked really hard to support students, but it was really understanding the why behind the student struggle. And once we were able to figure that out and start putting in place processes and procedures to help with that, things move forward. And what you focus on, I'm a big believer in what you focus on grows. When we focused on that and helping students achieve graduation, it's worked. And now we've been able to take it a step further, where we're not just focused on graduation, but what do our students leave with when they leave our system? What credentials, what certificates, what post-secondary opportunities, what skills? And that's been a fun process to have that evolve. As we've got our graduation rates where they are, now what does that mean for students?
This effort didn't require extra funding, just a shift in focus and resources. They leaned heavily on parent support.
Parents are a huge part of this. Like, we have to involve parents. So parents, they need to know their students' opportunities. They need to be aware of what we have available for students. That's a huge thing. And parents are often part of this process. We're communicating with parents all the time about where the student is at and how to get the students to school or how to remove a barrier. So parents become our partners in this work, and that's essential.
Of course, in the end, it's about more than the numbers. That's the whole point. These students are more than a number. And you can hear the life-changing testimonials as they get their diplomas.
Honestly, growing up, it was always hard. Like, I didn't think I'd make it far. I didn't think I'd make it far. I didn't think I'd amount to anything or achieve anything in my life. I really didn't. I didn't think I was worthy, or I didn't think I had it in me. So, being here today, that really proves to me and everybody else who doubted me that I did it. I did it early too. I graduated early. I did that, and people didn't.
She did that. I love that. We wondered what other high schools stand out. Where does your school stand in terms of graduation? We went through the State Board of Education's data dashboard looking for more outliers. Here's what we found. Utah's graduation rate last year was 88.8%. The director of data for the State Board of Education says we're moving slowly in the right direction. Where do we stand for high school graduation rates?
Okay, so at the moment, just historically, we have been seeing a steady, slight increase. We've hit the 88.8%. I would not imagine that we're going to see a radical change up or down from that. It would be awesome if we hit 90%.
In addition to Ogden schools, he points to Beaver School District as a community which has really made a turnaround in recent years, moving from 81 to 97% of students graduating.
Just see what they've done. And I was talking with our superintendent about the efforts and the desire of we are on track. We're making sure that we're reaching out to every single student, and you can see the impact. Just as we start looking empirically at the numbers and say, they absolutely are reaching out and following through on their strategies to make sure the kids are not slipping through.
Several smaller Utah high schools belong to the 100% Club, including Milford, Manila, Tabiona, Escalante, Parowan, and Valley High in Kane County. Congratulations. Several larger high schools have graduation rates in the high 90s, including Davis, Beaver, Farmington, Skyline, Ridgeline in Cache, Cedar City, Millard, and Salem Hills in Salem. It was also interesting to note Monticello High, in the remote southwest corner of our state, has a 95.5% graduation rate, high above the state average. Some of the mainstream high schools on the lower end, Cottonwood, Granger, and West Jordan High, Bruff says turnarounds like those seen in Ogden and Beaver can impact the entire community.
If you live in a community where you just don't think your schools are very good, I think that attitude disseminates from the parents down to their kids, and sometimes they just don't try. And I think it bleeds into the teachers. It bleeds into it's that kind of that overwhelming, depressed or suppressing feeling.
It's fulfilling too.
Yeah, it is very much so, because it's just what it is. So when they transition and they start saying, hey, there's going to be a change, there is just a huge surge of pride within the community. These are our schools. It makes people want to live in that community. You're going to have more move-ins. You're going to bring in more investments. People start looking at it saying, here's an opportunity. You do have then, companies start looking at it saying, hey, there's some excitement going on here. Let's start figuring out how we can address this. So I've experienced it. I've seen it. There's been a definite change.
If you want to see your school's graduation rate and the trajectory, we'll put a link to the state's data on our story. Coming up, the young man who survived a family shooting walks at his graduation.
I'm just so happy I get to graduate.
How he's moving forward in life and inspiring those around him. Planting a seed for future graduations. Students just starting their journey celebrate those who are moving on.